Moment of sheer brilliance and unyielding belief, India's women's cricket team etched their name in history, lifting their maiden ICC Women's World Cup title last night with a commanding 52-run victory over South Africa at the D.Y. Patil Stadium. The triumph, witnessed by over 40,000 roaring fans, marked the culmination of decades of heartbreak, resilience and evolution in Indian women's cricket. Deepti Sharma, the tournament's standout performer, delivered a match-winning all-round performance with a run-a-ball 58 and a 5-wicket haul, sealing her place as the player of the tournament with 215 runs and the most 22 wickets across 9 matches. This is what Harmanpreet, the captain, had to say. We knew this team had something special. Even after 3 back-to-back losses, we believed this is just the beginning, not the end. And that sums up the effort of the entire team. Tributes poured in from across the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the win as historic, praising the team's exceptional teamwork and tenacity. Cricket legend Sachin Tendulkar, MS Dhoni called it a defining moment for Indian women's cricket, while Virat Kohli also said, "You've made every Indian proud." Now, the women's game has already made rapid strides, but can this win do for the women's game what 1983 did for men's cricket in India? We'll take that to our experts joining us. But first, a series of elite victories for India in the ODI format. The first, of course, was that 1983 historic win led by Kapil Dev. They won their first ICC trophy and the World Cup for the first time then. Lords was the scene of India's greatest cricketing triumph as they beat 2-time winners West Indies by 43 runs to lift the trophy. Then comes the unforgettable 2011 when Dhoni led the team to its second ever ODI World Cup after defeating Sri Lanka in the final. And Dhoni, the man who ended that 28-year wait, was named man of the match for scoring that unbeaten 91 with that flourishing 6. And now the Indian women's cricket team have been crowned the ICC Women's World Cup champions at the D.Y. Patil Stadium. This is the women's first ICC trophy ever. Now, the women's team's World Cup triumph is not just a sporting victory, it's a watershed moment for women's sports in India overall as well. This could have ramifications well beyond cricket. This major global title instantly, first of all, equalizes their stature with the men's, the world champions that they have been. The victory is a powerful, undeniable statement that shatters old biases, proving that Indian women are equally capable of achieving the highest global success in competitive sports. The success increases commercial viability, pushing for expanded domestic infrastructure, more leagues, higher value professional contracts. This victory sparks a significant lasting spike in media coverage, we hope, corporate sponsorships, fan engagement. This crucial investment then funds grassroots programs. And the sight of national heroes lifting the trophy provides an inspirational blueprint, inspiring millions of young girls to take up either this sport, cricket, or other sports. But none of this was possible without the effort that has already been made, and the returns have been speedy from the Indian women. Remember, back in 2022, which is not a long time ago, BCCI had announced pay parity between India men's and women's cricketers. For the first time, the women who wore the blue jersey started to receive the same match fees as their male counterparts. Soon after that, we witnessed the advent of Women's Premier League as well, a la the IPL. BCCI has for quite some time has been pushing for improved facilities, a large support staff on par with the men's team for the women's team, while seeking to make the sport more commercially viable globally and ensuring that women players are equally feted for their successes. It's no longer that they're second cousins as far as men's cricket is concerned. But from a tale of missing out for almost his entire lifetime and career to World Cup triumph, this is also a big turnaround for coach Amul Mazumdar. He was one of India's most talented batsmen and was a Ranji Trophy legend in his playing days. He had over 11,000 first-class runs and 30 centuries. He was a towering figure, and we've talked about him for many, many years in domestic cricket, cementing himself as one of the game's finest. But despite that, he was also one of the most prominent players that never earned a national cap, despite his 21-year-long career, being a journeyman and scoring prolifically. His era was defined possibly as a fierce competition era. After retiring in 2012, Mazumdar seamlessly transitioned into coaching, bringing his vast knowledge and technical acumen to the field. He was appointed, mind you, the head coach of the women's team only in late 2023. But within a few months' time, he has now not just taken the team to their third World Cup final, but also ensured that this time around they've lifted their maiden World Cup. So So can this victory now ensure that the entire women's game, or the future of the game itself and across sports for females, can it redefine that? Let's go across to a special guest joining us.
कृतिका वॉज सो पॉजिटिव. आई थिंक सब ने बहुत हर एक चीज़ को पॉजिटिव लिया. बिल्कुल भी ऐसे नहीं सोचा कि ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, हमारे साथ क्यों हो रहा है. टूर्नामेंट स्टार्ट होने से पहले इंजरी, टूर्नामेंट के मिडल में एक बड़ी इंजरी. I think everybody was so positive.
Not just because I got 100, but I think because we defeated Australia, which always we've come in close situations, crunch moments, and we've given it away. But this Indian team changed that. So I think I love that for that reason that we defeated them.
Really don't have words, sir. क्योंकि हम ये मोमेंट विजुलाइज कर चुके हैं. हम लोग बात करते थे, अभी हो गया है, तो अभी इसको ऐसे सोक इन करने में बहुत टाइम लग रहा है.
डीवाई पाटिल तो हमारे लिए हमेशा से लकी है. हम यहाँ पे आके कुछ अलग ही मैजिक करते हैं सबके सब.
आपकी ये सफलता देश के करोड़ों नौजवानों को प्रेरित करेगी.
Oh, I couldn't stop shouting. I was jumping, I was shouting, I was elated. It was happiness and relief at the same time.
सानू पूरी टीम से बड़ा गर्व फील हो रहा है क्योंकि वर्ल्ड कप जीतना बहुत बड़ी बात है.
जिस दिन से सिलेक्ट हुई है तब से यही था कि वर्ल्ड कप जीतना है इसके.
So first of all, I want to go across to Reema Malhotra, who's played 3 World Cups for India, former India cricketer and commentator. She's of course now been seen in a new avatar. So first up, Reema, share your experience as you were watching the Indian cricket team create history last night. With all of you guys together, you know, commentating, bringing the match to the billion plus people. How was that night like as a former player, those moments?
ऐसे वो गोल्डन मोमेंट था हम सब के लिए. आई मीन जितने क्रिकेटर्स खेल चुके हैं, जो खेल रहे हैं, वॉचिंग द गेम फ्रॉम द ग्राउंड, कवरिंग द गेम फ्रॉम द ग्राउंड, लिविंग दैट मोमेंट. एक्चुअली वो एक मैजिकल मोमेंट मैं कहूँगी, क्योंकि 25 साल हो गए, 25 ईयर से हम इस मोमेंट का वेट कर रहे थे. ये टीम लड़ रही थी, हम सब लड़े. 2005 में हम सेमीफाइनल पहुंचे, 2017 में पहुंचे. शोर मचा, लेकिन उतना नहीं जो घर घर पहुंच पाए. लेकिन ये जो विन है ना, ये जो फर्स्ट आईसीसी विमेंस ट्रॉफी अब इंडियन टीम के आगे जुड़ चुकी है, वर्ल्ड चैंपियंस हमें कहलाया जाएगा, तो मैं कहूँगी ये हम सबकी जीत है. अब चाहे वो क्रिकेट खेल रहा हो या खेल चुका हो या आने वाली नेक्स्ट जनरेशन के हो, मैसेज क्लियर है कि बिल्कुल आइए, सपना देखिए, ड्रीम्स डू कम ट्रू.
But what do you make of this moment? Because a lot of experts had been talking about before the final itself that you know, this could be like a 1983 moment for women's cricket team. Do you feel यही impact रहेगा इस victory का जो men's cricket में हमने 1983 में देखा था?
देखिए उसके बाद ना मेंस क्रिकेट बदला था. उसके बाद ही आपने आईपीएल देखा था, उसके बाद ही 2011 में विश्व कप देखा था. तो थिंग्स विल चेंज इन अ पॉजिटिव मैनर और पूल ऑफ प्लेयर्स बढ़ेंगे. क्योंकि अभी तक क्या होता है, कई जो टैलेंट है वो भी अभी भी घर पे है. कई पेरेंट्स अभी भी खुल के अपनी बेटियों को नहीं भेज पाते. लेकिन अब जब पूरे इंडिया ने एक हिस्टोरिक मूवमेंट देखी है, रिकॉर्ड तोड़ मेरे ख्याल से यहाँ पे व्यूअरशिप आई है कल के मुकाबले में, और हाउसफुल डीवाई पाटिल का वो ग्राउंड था. अब यानी कि लोग विमेंस क्रिकेट को देखना चाहते हैं, पसंद कर रहे हैं, फ्यूचर है. और आपकी जो प्राइज मनी है वो मेंस से ज्यादा है. 40 करोड़ प्राइज मनी मेंस की भी नहीं थी, 51 करोड़ बीसीसीआई ने अनाउंस किया. यानी कि अगर आप एज अ पेरेंट देखेंगे तो आपको इसमें फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी नजर आएगी, एक करियर ऑप्शन नजर आएगा, और आप सिर्फ ये नहीं कहेंगे कि आपको पढ़ाई करनी है, स्पोर्ट्स भी आपका एक करियर है, क्रिकेट भी उसमें से एक गेम है. क्योंकि अब ये जेंटलमैन गेम नहीं है, ये एवरीवन्स गेम है. तो यहाँ पे पूल ऑफ प्लेयर्स बढ़ेगा. डेफिनेटली आपको अब आने वाले टाइम पे हम एक ट्रॉफी जीते हैं और ट्रॉफी देखते हुए नजर आएंगे, और वुमेन्स क्रिकेट आपको यहाँ से और एनहांस करते हुए नजर आएगा इन टर्म्स ऑफ पूल ऑफ प्लेयर्स.
Yes, not just a gentleman's game anymore. I like that. But what did you like most about this Indian cricket team? Because you know, they had some ups and downs. They, you know, didn't quite do very well in the league stage, but then to bounce back, have that massive win against Australia in the semis, and then the final to keep that momentum. What did you think you found different about this team?
द आंसर इज इन योर क्वेश्चन ओनली कि गिर के वापस कैसे उठते हैं, ये इस टीम को अलग करता है कि यस आप पहले 2 विन के साथ टूर्नामेंट में आगे गए थे, लेकिन वो इंडिया पाकिस्तान थी, बहुत ट्रोलिंग हुई थी, बहुत क्वेश्चंस उठे थे कि जैसे ही सेना टीम आती है आप हार जाते हैं, और वो हुआ भी नहीं। 3 आप बैक टू बैक मैचेस हारते हैं, वो भी बड़ी टीम के आगे हारते हैं और अच्छा खेल के हारते हैं। ये बहुत बड़ा पॉजिटिव था, क्योंकि कई बार ना आप हारते हैं और आपका जो रिजल्ट है वो एंड में निकलता है, लेकिन आप किस तरीके से खेलते हैं ना, एज ए क्रिकेटर हम वो देखते हैं जो एक आम लोग नहीं देख पाते कि आप किस तरीके से वो फाइट करते हैं। भारतीय टीम जो है ना वो एक अच्छी फाइट दे रही थी, और वो कहीं ना कहीं वो लाइन क्रॉस नहीं कर पा रहे, लेकिन इस टीम की ताकत जो आपने पूछा वो था सेल्फ बिलीफ, ड्रेसिंग रूम का एटमॉस्फेयर और ड्रेसिंग रूम की पॉजिटिविटी, जो एनवायरनमेंट अमोल मजूमदार ने क्रिएट किया है, जो एनवायरनमेंट हरमन और स्मृति ने क्रिएट किया है, उसका रिजल्ट है कि आप जीते हैं। और इस टीम की एक चीज और है, इस टीम में अगर आप नजर उठाएंगे ना तो 1 या 2 मैच विनर नहीं है, एवरी सिंगल मैच देयर इज अ डिफरेंट मैच विनर। दिस इज द क्वालिटी ऑफ अ विनिंग टीम, और वो क्वालिटी नजर आई, इसीलिए इंडियन टीम जीतती हुई नजर आई।
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, we saw that Harman during the match when the cameras were cutting to her, she was praying on the field. Jemima was in tears after the semi-final. She talked very openly about what it meant. Even during yesterday's celebrations, emotions were clearly very high. A lot of tears, really. What do you think this achievement means to this set of players?
well, इसमें से ना 2 बातें समझ में आती हैं कि एक तो यस आप प्रोसेस पे ध्यान रखते हैं, दूसरा थोड़ा विश्वास ऊपर वाले पे भी रखना होता है, दुआओं में दम होता है। ये देख के अच्छा लगा कि प्रेयर्स चालू थी, ये देख के अच्छा लगा कि लड़ाई चालू थी और सारे एक डायरेक्शन में चल रहे थे। हरमनप्रीत कौर हो, स्मृति मानदाना हो या फिर जेमी हो, वो इमोशंस निकल के आ रहे थे, वो जानते थे उस मूवमेंट को अगर आपको कैप्चर करना है, उस मूवमेंट को अपना बनाना ना, तो यूनिवर्स को साथ में लाना होगा और ये विश्वास लाना होगा। हरमन सब ने पूछा था कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया के मैच से पहले, फाइनल से पहले हरमन अपने आप को, अपनी टीम को क्या कह रही थी? एवरी सिंगल पर्सन वाज सेइंग द सेम थिंग, बस हम जीत रहे हैं, हम जीत रहे हैं, हम जीत रहे हैं। सो जब आप पॉजिटिव बोलते हैं ना तो पॉजिटिव होता है। वो कहते हैं ना कि आप जब कोई चीज शिद्दत से मांगो तो पूरी कायनात उसको आपको पाने की कोशिश करती है। वही भारतीय टीम के साथ हुआ। एक डायरेक्शन में जाना, एक ही साथ वो लड़ाई लड़ना, और तभी तो टीम जीतती है। इसलिए इट्स अ टीम गेम, इसलिए इस टाइम वुमेन्स इंडियन वुमेन्स टीम जो है वो इंडियन वुमेन टीम नहीं है, वर्ल्ड चैंपियंस इंडियन टीम है।
Yes. Rima, you interacted with a lot of these players as this tournament was going on. I want to ask you, is there any moment that you want to share that happened maybe on camera or off camera, since you were bringing the match to millions of Indians? Any moment that has stuck with you that we may not have seen, but as you were interacting with the rest of the team?
देखिए वैसे सबको पता ही है, एक जब हमने ऑस्ट्रेलिया से मैच जीता था तब स्मृति से मेरी वीडियो कॉल पे बात हुई थी फ्रॉम द ग्राउंड ओनली। सो मैंने पहले तो उसको बोला कि थैंक यू यार, ऑस्ट्रेलिया को हराया, फाइनल से पहुंचे, क्योंकि मुझे पता था कि अगर ऑस्ट्रेलिया को हरा देना तो सामने कोई भी जर्सी आ जाए, अब ये टीम रुकेगी नहीं। स्मृति ने उस टाइम मुझे बोला था कि ट्रॉफी आएगी, आई प्रॉमिस, पक्का प्रॉमिस। और जब हम ग्राउंड पे मिले, सो मैं शो कर रही थी वहाँ पे, पोस्ट मैच शो, तो टीम जा रही थी, तो मुझे लगा था वो टीम हम दूर से विश करेंगे और वो चले जाएंगे, लेकिन नहीं, उन्होंने ना क्या किया, ये मूवमेंट सिर्फ अपना नहीं रखा, हम सब का बनाया, पूरा इंडिया का बनाया, फॉर्मर क्रिकेटर का बनाया। वो ट्रॉफी दी मुझे और कहा कि ये आपके लिए है, जो सपना आप सब देख रहे थे वो पूरा हम कर रहे हैं। और स्मृति ने वहां से बोला, किया ना पक्का प्रॉमिस, पूरा कर दिया ना। सो ये छोटी छोटी मूवमेंट्स होती है जो काउंट करती है आपकी लाइफ में, हमेशा आपके साथ रहती है। और शायद अगर मरने से पहले या आखिरी सांस से पहले कोई मुझे कहेगा ना कौन सा लम्हा आप वापस देखना चाहते हैं, तो वो लम्हा मैं जीना चाहती हूँ जब इस एंटायर इंडियन टीम ने वो ट्रॉफी मेरे को हैंड ओवर की थी, वो हग्स किए थे। आप मानेंगे नहीं उसका मतलब कितना ज्यादा होता है हम सब के लिए, क्योंकि मैंने 3 ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप खेले, लेकिन ट्रॉफी हाथ लगी नहीं। लेकिन जब ट्रॉफी हाथ लगी तो इस जनरेशन ने दी, और लगा कि आप इज्जत ना मांगने से नहीं मिलते, वो आप अर्न करते हैं। तो वो प्यार मिला इस टीम से। फिर हरमन के साथ मेरा एक वो साडा हक वाला एक सॉन्ग था, जो हम जब साथ खेलते थे, जब हम दूसरी टीम को हराते थे, स्पेशली जब हमने एक ऐसी टीम को हराया था जब हम नॉर्थ जोन से खेलते थे, सेंट्रल जोन को हराया था, तो वो सारे 11 के 11 उसमें इंडिया प्लेयर थे। मिताली राज उसको लीड कर रही थी, यहाँ पे नॉर्थ जोन को मैं लीड कर रही थी। और वहाँ पे जब हम जीते, हमने उस टीम को हराया, सब हमें कहते हैं अंडरडॉग्स है, नॉर्थ कहाँ जीतेगा, लेकिन जीता। हम एक चेयर लेके ग्राउंड पे गए और वहां पे हैरी और मैं चेयर पे खड़े होकर हमने गाया था। उस टाइम वो सॉन्ग चल रहा था, साडा हक ऐथे रख। ग्राउंड पे वो मूवमेंट हमने वापस जिया। और 2 दिन पहले हैरी ने मुझे स्पेशली वीडियो बना के भेजा था कि दीदी, जब हमने ऑस्ट्रेलिया को मैच हराया था ना, मुझे ये मूवमेंट याद आ रहा था, मुझे ये मूवमेंट वापस क्रिएट करना है। वो वीडियो अभी भी मेरे पास है, और वो वीडियो, वही पल हमने वापस उस वर्ल्ड कप के बाद जिया। तो ये कुछ 2 ऐसे किस्से थे जो मेरे ज़हन में हमेशा रहेंगे, बाकी तो बहुत सारी मेमोरीज़ हैं, जो मैं रोज़ अपने सोशल मीडिया पे पोस्ट करने वाली हूँ।
Okay, all right. We look forward to that. Rima, thanks a lot for joining us. Clearly, it is visible from you and everybody else's reaction what this means for the entire women's setup in India. Thanks a lot for joining us. I also want to go across to former India cricketer Ritinder Singh Sodhi is joining us, senior sports journalist Ayaz Memon as well. Ritinder, all of the men's players have also been sharing in the joy that the women's team have brought the entire country. And, you see how the women have earned their place to be right up there with the men's team now.
Look, Shivani, this is massive. Winning a World Cup is something which every player dreams for, and these dreams don't come true normally. But what Harmanpreet and her girls have done, I think this will be remembered for years to come. This was entirely a stupendous team effort by all the cricketers, especially Jamima, that knock against Australia, against all the odds, that really got us in the finals. And we knew that we were favourite against South Africa. But yes, as Rima has been talking, as the older players who performed for Team India, Anjum, I think this is dream come true for every cricketer, and especially BCCI, who has given such a brilliant infrastructure for these women cricketers to excel. I think hats off to all, and congratulations to entire India, because the support was massive.
Ayaz, you agree with this, that the BCCI has played a very important role as far as this turnaround in women's game is concerned, particularly as I was mentioning at the start of the show, from 2020 onwards, from 2022 onwards especially, they've been very clear that they are going to make sure that women's cricket comes up at par with men's cricket.
Oh, absolutely. I think the turnaround, the transformation in women's cricket in India comes from the Women's Cricket Association being integrated into the BCCI. That happened in 2006-07. That was the season in which this integration took place. And what happened initially is first that they got more opportunities, they got infrastructure, they got to play in the best grounds. And then the tournaments came up and opportunities to travel overseas, which wasn't possible earlier. I mean, Women's Cricket Association of India as an independent body was struggling. It was, it was from hand to mouth. They were struggling to even travel by train, second class or third class to venues. So, I mean, that's the hardship, which I've seen at first hand in the 80s and the late 70s and the 80s, where they just didn't have any resources to go and play. So that change started taking place. And since then, obviously, there's been a lot of advancement. I mean, there's been pay parity, for instance, WPL starting, the self-esteem of the players, apart from just the confidence and the opportunities and the infrastructure, it's also the self-esteem of the players that has gone up. And then WPL, which means it's in a sense it's a clone of the IPL. Why, in a sense, it is. But it means that the best overseas talent also came and played here. Far fewer teams, but nevertheless, the concept was pretty much the same. And what benefit that has for youngsters, young Indian players, was evident in this tournament. When you look at the likes of Amanjot Kaur and Kranti Gaud and some of the others, not just Harmanpreet and Deepti Sharma or Smriti Mandhana, who've been around for 10 years or a little longer, but the younger players who are coming in full of brimming with confidence, willing to take on the best, challenge the best, and saying that we want to win. And I think that's really been the biggest development or the evolution that I've seen over the last 10, 12 years.
And where do you hope, Ritinder, this will take the Indian team? How do we sustain this momentum? Yes, the BCCI has been very clear about this, but you need more sponsor interest, you need more investments, you need more fan interest as well. Do you think all of these aspects have also lived up to the expectation that if the women perform, then the rest will follow?
Yes, Shivani, this is a very important point. Look, victory changes it all. 1983 World Cup, when Kapil Dev and his men won that all-important finale. And then 2011, when Dhoni and his men won the World Cup. I think winning a World Cup changes entire scenario of the country's game. And yes, BCCI has already been doing so well. And with this victory, as you have been talking, the sponsors will just flow in because everybody would like to be behind the women cricketers. We talk about bat sponsors. We talk about, as Ayaz Bhai was saying, this team the women cricket, they used to travel by train. There was so much enormous problems. But yes, from last few years, things have been put in right stream. And with Jay Shah sir, I think he has been working brilliantly hard. And yesterday, what we did in the finale, it is the fruit of all the hard work, all the infrastructure which BCCI has given to these cricketers. And just talking about preparation, look what BCCI did. They brought in Australia. We played 3 ODIs, 2 in Chandigarh, 1 in Delhi, just to get them prepared for the World Cup. And that is what preparation is all about. And that is why I'm just talking about Jai Bhai and BCCI, because, this is so very important. Preparation is the key to win any premier event. And yes, Indian women have done it, and Amanjot Kaur from Punjab, Harmanpreet Kaur from Punjab, and rest all the women representing their states in the entire country. I think they will be proud of this moment.
Yes. Even some of the players have even talked about how, like Ayaz, you were talking about 2005, 6, 7, right? And many have even credited Anurag Thakur as a former BCCI president for having that vision at that time to make some of those changes. And the thing is that the turnaround for women's cricket, I mean, this is the story, I think, for us to note, that within 20 years, we've had an ICC trophy. I mean, after the integration and after the focus started going into it. And if we count it from 2022, then it's just been 3 years. So the repaying of that faith has been dramatically quick for the Indian women's team.
Yes, I mean, look, a couple of things matter here. One is the prodigious talent that India has got, cricketing talent. And it's not just in the men's section. We've seen what the IPL has done for Indian men's cricket in every format. The kind of talent, the pipeline is full and flush with extraordinary talent. In fact, it's a nightmare for the selectors in selecting squads for these different formats. Now, obviously, the challenges lie in winning titles. The men's team has won a few, not won a few. That can happen because, everybody's placed to win. In the case of women's cricket, we've seen that progress over the last 7, 8, 10, maybe 15 years. There are a couple of times we've been in the final. This was the third time we're in the ODI World Cup final. We've lost twice earlier in 2005, 2017, but this time we've won. So there is a graph, the trajectory shows that you're going upwards. You're not plateaued and you're not stagnant. In the T20 World Cup, we reached the final in 2020, couldn't beat Australia there. But in this tournament, I think everybody, from what I've read, what the players have been saying, from what I've heard from them, that they were planning, and as Rikinder mentioned, that astute planning by the BCCI also to get the Australians to come here and play a few games before the World Cup, because they were the biggest threat to the Indian team. Playing at home, you may know the conditions well, you know everything well, but if you don't have enough game time against your biggest opponent, you could be found wanting, you could be exposed. So that was covered up extremely well. I thought that was a very adroit move by the BCCI. And then, the selection of the squad, there were some, changes made. There were some heartaches, heartbreaks. We've heard about those. But overall, the picture was that we are getting into this tournament to win it. And this became the motive and the purpose of all the players. And we saw that in all the matches, especially in the last two, the knockout matches, and even the match against New Zealand before that, which was so crucial for India to win, that when it mattered, and different people played up, Smriti Mandhana and Pratika Rawal in the match against New Zealand, Jemima in the match, that innings of a lifetime against Australia, with Harmanpreet playing a captain's knock there. Deepti Sharma in the semi-final and the final, what a great all-round performance. And look at Amanjot Kaur, the catch she took, which was one of the turning points of the tournament, if I might put it that way.
Yes.
She clung on to that ball after fumbling with it thrice for dear life, because you dropped that catch and you could have possibly lost the match the way Woolhart was batting. So all of these players, Smriti Mandhana herself, and Shifali Verma, who would have she was like what Viru Sehwag used to be in his playing days, as an opening batsman and as a part-time bowler. So I thought this was an absolutely marvellous exhibition of cricket by the Indian team.
Yes, they're all-around performance, and also they weren't really fancied as someone who could, a team that could make a stake for the title, but they've turned things around and kept that self-belief. That is the common theme that everybody has been mentioning. A word about Amol Mazumdar as well, Ayaz, we were talking about this last night as well. Quite a turnaround for him as well. Because I remember talking about him and how, despite his runs and his legend, he just never got a call for the Indian team. And, we have talked about this over the years. But how do you think he would be feeling?
He'll be over the moon. I know Amal quite well because he's from Bombay. And, I don't meet him so often now, which I used to earlier. But I can tell you one thing. Statistics are not a measure for Amal's contribution in this team because he was not a player. He was only the coach.
Yeah.
The stats matter to the players. But the respect and gratitude he's earned from the players is manifest in the way they've been dealing with him and talking about him. And therefore, that shows you what kind of a person he was and what he has instilled in this team. He's, as I mentioned last night, that we heard about him giving them a dressing down also. It's not that he's a very mild-mannered man, but he can be tough. He was tough with himself. Remember, he played for almost 20 years despite not being neglected right through his career for India colours. He's got a core of steel in him, but he's also somebody, I think, who warms up to people who play well. And I've seen that happen in the Bombay team when he was the captain, when he was not the captain. And, it's part of the Bombay culture where former players and the past players help the youngsters, the new and upcoming players. And I saw a lot of that happening, even from a distance, with the Indian women's cricket team ever since he's been in charge. So I think his contribution has been absolutely invaluable.
Yes, and it hasn't been long that he was given the reign as the head coach of the Indian women's team. Rutinder, your thoughts on how, players have their own destiny, athletes have their own destiny, sometimes if not as playing athletes, then as coaches.
Shivani, I went on to achieve the India cap in 2000 December 2. And Amol Mujumdar was playing in that era and he was getting runs. But, everybody is not designed to play for the country. It's about a very godly thing. And I always felt for many cricketers who didn't play for India. Amol was one of them. And yes, yesterday it must have been a happiest moment for him because God compensates at times, and yesterday night must have been for him making debut for India and smashing 100 on debut for the country because this was as important a moment. And yes, God has given it back to Amol Majumdar. He deserved it, I think, more than anybody. And the way he has worked hard on the team, I still remember I met him in Chandigarh during that game against Australia just few days back. And he was really working hard on the team, planning things, fielding sessions, training sessions, net sessions. I saw him very closely in those very important 2 days just before the World Cup. I think that is what preparation is all about. And yes, Amol bhai, bahut mubarak.
All right. Yes, Ayaz, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, I just want, the calming influence of a coach or the influence of a coach comes through when the team goes through a crisis, or some of the players do.
Sure.
And 3 defeats on the trot almost disrupted India's campaign for a while. And that's when the coach becomes so important, or the captain, or the combo, which I think is what in a sense worked for India. We saw Harmanpreet also, holding a nerve in both the semi-final and the final, not just as a batsman, but also
as a captain.
Primarily as a captain, and playing her gut out, the instinct to get Shefali to bowl when she did, and the way she used Deepti in the death overs in both the matches, and Amol obviously is in a sense the backroom boy, not visible or not on the ground, but I think he's so tactically sound and so experienced and matured that his influence, at least for people who know him, was very evident.
All right. I'll leave it at that. I do thank both of you for joining up, but let's also listen into some more reactions from former women's players, what they had to say as the Indian team won this trophy. As a former Indian cricketer, what do you think this title will do for women's cricket in India?
Basically, coming from a generation where we had to fight for everything, we had to make people believe. I remember talking to so many officials where they will eventually tell me, Mamta, we can't have an investment in women's game because not viable, it's not coming from that level to now where the game has become so popular and so successful and a product that can be marketed now, that for me is the greatest achievement, because I've seen where we had to fight for so many facilities. Now, no more that will be the case, especially in the grassroots. See, the India team gets everything. It's what happens at the grassroots that counts. At the grassroots, this victory will galvanize every state association to be proactive about the women's game and treat them, if not on par, at least give them the facilities and the infrastructure which is needed for them to put out a good show. So on that front, I'm very, very happy. But personally, for India, it's such a glory moment, because being a cricketing nation, we had not yet picked up a World Cup. So now this is tremendous for all of us and the entire country. I don't want to say women, men, nothing like of that sort. But the World Cup victory for India is a tremendous boost, and I'm so happy for this day.
Mamta, do you think this is also to be credited to the WPL in the last few years?
Definitely, definitely. WPL came actually a couple of years later, but eventually when it came, we are all now privy to what it can do. It has transformed women's cricket. I'm a coach myself, I have seen girls, talent mushrooming all around India. Thanks to WPL, more than the fact that India play international cricket, WPL has caught the imagination of the children all around our country. And kids as young as 6 and 7 come to the academies to train, and after 10-15 years they're playing at a different level. They're clutch now, actually more than our senior players or even under 23 players. Under 19 players are playing at a different gear, because they have been groomed differently, thanks to the last 5 years where the game has exploded, thanks to people like Smriti Mandana, Harry, Julian, Mithali, Jemima, Deepthi, who are all household names now. So when I go outside, the talent is at a different level. So the next 5-10 years looks really good for India. Thanks to BCCI that they have come out with the WPL. I'm just hoping that there's so much talent that we can add 2 or 3 more teams now. I know definitely there are many talented players who are not playing even international. There are many international cricketers who are capable of playing in the WPL, not playing. There are many Indian cricketers also. Of course, there are going to be teething problems. That's going to be there everywhere, right? The first 2 years, you'll draw a lot of flack saying there's not enough depth, this. But I watched WPL this time, and especially with the fielding standard, right? Our domestic players had caught up. It was like lightning. There's a marginal difference now, 10 or 20% watching a men's game and a women's game. In terms of quality, it's just made the rapid strides. It's in fact exploded. And thanks to, actually, I must say, for me, though I know everybody has done their part, it was Anurag Thakurji who initiated the thing where women, giving more prominence to women's cricket, making it grow, and then it was picked up by JESA, where they went all out to give what they can give to make sure that this game can grow. Means in terms of investment, right? See, initially there were no returns, but now after 10-15 years, there are huge returns. So they were visionaries. I must say, Anurag Thakurji and Jaisha ji, they were visionaries in that they saw where this game can go. Though initially, see, I will tell you one thing, being a coach at all levels, when we talk to the officials now, when we prepare for any tournament, we have to literally convince them to give us certain things, because they tell us the money is coming from the men's coffer, okay? So there is limited we can give. But the last 2 years, especially after WPL, now the women are bringing in the money, they started to bring it.
Now, the winning team is all set to meet the Prime Minister on Wednesday, and Deepthi, the star of the tournament, said that they will surprise him with a gift, as if the World Cup trophy was not enough.
डेफिनेटली इस चीज़ के बारे में सोचेंगे, क्योंकि अभी थोड़ा सा समय है इस चीज़ के लिए कि हमने क्या उनको प्रेजेंट करना है, बट डेफिनेटली एज अ टीम हम उनको कुछ ना कुछ डेफिनेटली गिफ्ट देंगे, चाहे वो जर्सी हो, चाहे वो बैट हो, या जो भी हो, हम उनको ज़रूर देंगे. और हैरी दी का इमोशन ऑब्वियसली फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड कप है, और हम लोग दिल से चाह रहे थे कि नहीं ये इंडिया में हो रहा है और हमने जीतना है एज अ टीम. और एक बॉल का ऐसे हो रहा था कि नहीं यार, जल्दी से ये मैच खत्म हो और रिजल्ट अपने फेवर में आए कल का. तो मतलब इसी चीज का इंतजार था और ये इंतजार पूरा हुआ.
All right, moving on, shifting our focus to the exercises that the Indian Armed Forces are doing now, planning to put Pakistan on notice. Remember, India is marking the beginning of its tri-combat exercise Trishul, which is focused primarily on the western sector and amphibious operations. This marks the biggest tri-services drill since Operation Sindoor. The exercise aims to validate joint operational procedures, enhance interoperability and strengthen network integration amongst the services. It will feature extensive maritime operations, including amphibious landings using INS Jalashwa and landing craft utility vessels, alongside carrier operations and air-sea coordinated missions with the Indian Air Force. So 3 areas where the drills will be carried out: the important Sir Creek sector, the focus of the maritime security, amphibious landings, and securing the difficult marshy estuary. It marks the highly sensitive westernmost boundary between India and Pakistan. The Saurashtra coast is a crucial maritime operations hub for the Indian Navy, utilized for naval maneuvers, coastal defense drills, and integrating naval air components. The Run of Kutch, or the desert zones, is utilized by the Army and the Indian Air Force for mechanized warfare, deep strikes, and offensive defensive maneuvers in a vast, harsh desert environment. The exercise involves a significant amount of deployment from the 3 services, showcasing their combined operational strength. Around 20,000 troops of the Indian Army to participate, supported by heavy armour like T-90S and Arjun tanks, along with howitzers for fire support from the Air Force, frontline fighter jets, including the Rafale and the Su-30 MKI, alongside support aircraft such as IL-78, transport, refuelers, and various unmanned aerial vehicles for surveillance and reconnaissance. From the Navy, it is committing major surface combatants, notably the aircraft carrier INS Vikrant and the amphibious transport dock INS Jalashwa, demonstrating significant power projection and amphibious capabilities. So what's the significance of this exercise? What is the message that India is sending to its enemies, particularly Pakistan, because this is happening on the Western Front? They are conducting these in Pakistan's western border, like Sir Creek. It signals India's readiness to operate in contested border zones. Pakistan's issuance of airspace restrictions on NOTAM ahead of this Trishul exercise also underscores the drill's perception. Coming after operations like Operation Sindoor, the drill connects with India's active operational posture rather than just training. The emphasis on theatre commands, joint logistics, and multi-domain warfare underlines India's transition to future-ready force structures. By using indigenous platforms and emphasizing Atmanirbharta, the exercise also aligns with the broader national defense strategy. Meanwhile, there is also alarm over what US President Donald Trump has said over the last couple of days. He has not just talked about how US will be restarting nuclear tests, but in his latest statement, he has also talked about how China and Pakistan have also been tested. Listen.
Russia's testing and China's testing, but they don't talk about it. You know, we're a open society. We're different. We talk about it. We have to talk about it, because otherwise you people are going to report. They don't have reporters that are going to be writing about it. We do. No, we're going to test because they test and others test. And certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing. They test way underground where people don't know exactly what's happening with the test. You feel a little bit of a vibration.
In context of everything that is going on across the world, US, China, Pakistan, and more, how should we look at this operation or exercise Trishul, and is it in effect putting Pakistan on notice more than anything else? A special guest is joining us. I want to go across to Lieutenant General Raj Shukla, author and defense expert, joining us on the show. First up, sir, how do you see the Trishul exercise that is going on? A lot of focus on it, a lot of chatter around it. Can you help our audiences understand the significance of this and those amphibious capabilities that are being talked about?
You know, just let me make 2-3 larger points and I'll come to amphibious operations. You know, Sindoor and Trishul, all this at least tell me that India is finally punching in accord with its strategic weight. You look at the economic differential with Pakistan, we are 10 times their size. You see Pakistan's economy, I think, is less than the market cap of Mumbai Stock Exchange. In all these years, there was this tiny country threatening us with terror, and then saying that should you respond militarily, we'll escalate. Now we've finally, reset the strategic calculus. I remember many years back, we did an exercise called brass tacks under General Sundarji, which was this massive mechanized maneuver which signaled to the Pakistanis that if we just wheel west, you will get balkanized further. And Pakistan got the message and then retreated to the subconventional domain. Now we are trying to tell, the people who really understand strategic military matters in Pakistan that kindly don't mess with us. Sindoor proved on the 10th of May that the reality is you are vulnerable, you were exposed, you had lost control of the skies. And if we had continued for another 48 hours, I mean, your very existence was threatened. We called your nuclear bluff. Now we are telling them that, see, Sindoor has not ceased. Trishul, we have expanded options. And of course, we are not telling them what the options are, but we are signaling that it is not only land, air, sea, it could be the amphibious domain. It could be in the area of Sir Creek. We shall not reveal our hand, but should you be so, shall I say, unwise to do any kind of terror attack, we mean business.
Yeah.
We will respond. I think very much in the Israeli mood. So, I mean, I think it is a pretty sensible decision. And only if Pakistan resorts to terror. You cannot have this terror rampage under a nuclear umbrella or, as part of any other strategic design. So the sensible people in Pakistan must understand that we have a military, we understand the utility of force, and we will use it as part of our statecraft in a calibrated manner. Trishul signals that.
Okay.
You saw exercises as part of Trishul in the maritime domain. You saw them in the amphibious domain. We saw some space mobilization. There were mobilizations in cyber. So India is, I'm not saying showcasing, but India is telling the Pakistanis that we have military might.
Absolutely.
These $90 billion that we spend on our military is not just to exercise self-restraint, and only if you provoke us. Another Pahalgam and see what we do. I mean, that's my understanding of Trishul and all these maneuvers. They are, a continuation of what we've done in the past as part of our stance.
So, why is this amphibious mode important and why now? Can you share your thoughts?
No, amphibious is nothing new. Amphibious is when you use a naval craft to, like you had Normandy, what you'll do in a Taiwan situation. So you use naval craft to, shall we say, onshore a body of soldiers, troops, who then carry out their normal tactical operations. So like you have land, air and sea, when you onshore a body of troops through amphibious craft, it is called amphibious operations. And we have many amphibious operations in the Sir Creek area, north and south of Karachi. I mean, see, India is a military power to reckon with. We are saying we can respond in any domain, air, space, cyber, land, along the line of control, along the international border, in the area of Chicken's Neck. I mean, there are tens and hundreds of options which we can exercise. We are a military force to reckon with, a very professional military. I mean, this strategic restraint was kind of misunderstood by Pakistan's strategic community. See what happened on 10th of May. They had lost control of the air. Pathetic. Even the much talked of Sino-Pak collusivity lay in tatters.
Yes.
Where were the J-10s, the J-17s retreating towards Afghanistan? And, Pakistan must smell the coffee. They have problems not only from the west, but also from the Taliban government, from the east, but also from the Taliban government to the west.
Yes.
They are strategically being encircled. And once again, India is not an expansionist power. We are very status quoist. We are just saying that stop this nonsense of terror. It will not work.
So how do you read into the response that we've seen from Pakistan? They issued a nav area warning. They might have possibly moved their air assets as well. What do you read into the Pakistani reaction because of these exercises?
Pakistan has very little options. It is just saber rattling. It knows India's military might. Soldier to soldier, they know what happened on 10th of May. And I'm not saying that, we should rest on our laurels. Pakistanis are getting J-20s, they're getting some stealth platforms, they're getting the HQ-19. So the air balance may well change in the next 8-9 months. But the reality of 10th of May is that they were vanquished. It's a shame for any army and air force. What happened? They had lost control of the skies.
Yes.
And now they are saber rattling. They are quite rattled. Therefore, what is that agreement with Saudi Arabia, getting the Turks in? But the Turks are not going to fight for them. Saudi Arabia is not going to fight for them. They'll give them some millions of dollars. They'll have to do the fighting. And they just can't do it. They know what the reality is. And I've seen this in my younger years, the exercises which I told you, brass tacks and all. The guy who got the message was Mirza Aslam Beg, their chief. And he retreated to a sub-conventional mode for decades. And once again, I'm saying, we are a part of a very professional military. We are not expansionist. We are status quoist. But kindly don't take us for a ride.
Yeah. I want to come to that issue of nuclear retesting that has caught everybody's eyes. The statement by Donald Trump saying that US is going to restart nuclear weapons testing, but also that China is doing it, Pakistan is doing it. What do you make of it? First up, can we trust his version? And if it is true, then what does it mean for India?
We must absolutely trust him. And I'm so glad that you asked this question. Because, there have been monumental changes in the global nuclear landscape last 8 to 10 years. Sadly, in India, the nuclear debates have been dead. Sadly. So I think Donald Trump has highlighted a very important metric of geopolitics. See what's happened. In recent years, China has expanded its nuclear arsenal by leaps and bounds. Number of warheads, silos, they've got 3,000 kilometers of tunnels in Western China. Lethality, they are in mega tonnages. They have, two distinct vectors, nuclear vectors. One is to target the American dispositions in the first and second island chain in Guam. You may call them tactical operational. And the strategic vector is targeting the American mainland. If you watch the parade in Beijing, I think a couple of weeks back, they showcased the nuclear triad. And they signaled to the Americans that in a Taiwan contingency, if China begins to lose, it reserves the right to exercise its nuclear options. It is moving from no first use to launch on warning. What is very worrying for the Americans is that North Korea now, their vectors have American mainland in range. And that has very serious consequences for extended deterrence in the Korean peninsula. Because if America comes to the conventional aid of South Korea, and the North Koreans threatened with nuclear targeting of the mainland, will China continue to come to the aid of South Korea? They are very serious questions. Russia, you have seen a lot of saber rattling in the recent past. You've seen the unveiling of the Burevestnik, if you're following the nuclear domain, which is a nuclear-powered cruise missile. It can pierce any defense shield. And just last week, it was the Poseidon, which is the underwater drone nuclear power. And if there is one political leader who understands the nuclear domain in all its finesse, it's Vladimir Putin. And he is using the nuclear rattle to great effect in Eurasian geopolitics. Which brings me to these tests. Now, I think it was in 1963 when a partial test ban treaty banned testing in all domains except underground. Then in 1996, a comprehensive test ban treaty banned testing across all domains, including underground. But, it is more of a global norm because the 44 nuclear weapon states all have not ratified the treaty. But largely to my knowledge, after 1992, nobody has tested except North Korea, except perhaps some countries on the sly, which is what Trump is pointing out to. He's telling the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, and also the Pakistanis. So, the Russians, Chinese, and North Koreans, I'm not surprised, because they are really using the nuclear arsenal in an aggressive manner. In fact, their nuclear warheads, if you total them, will be double that of the Americans by 2027, 28. So I'm saying it's become a factor in geopolitics. And Pakistan, if it has been testing, it is worrisome for us because After 1992, everybody resorted to computer-based simulations of nuclear tests in laboratories. But if you want to really be sure of the design of the warhead, you have to test physically. In fact, when we tested in 1998, I recall there were debates between Bharat Karnad and Mr. Santanam then, the DRDO chief, about the reliability of the test. So the tests, they give you, shall we say, the physics, but the weapon design has to be worked out through constant testing. So why Trump's statement is important, not merely because of testing, but how USA, Russia, China, all the big guys, North Korea, they are looking at the nuclear landscape as, nuclear weapons in this whole paradigm of national security. So my own view is that, thank God, for people like you to ask these questions, these debates should get revived. I recall in 1990, 2000, people like Mr. Subramaniam, Jayashankar's father, Air Commodores Jasjeet Singh, Uday Bhaskar, they were very deep conversations in national security, even in the nuclear domain. They are all dead. One doesn't see newspaper articles, media engagements. So I'm saying we must deepen these conversations and revisit our nuclear posture.
So in context of Pakistan, are you worried at all what Donald Trump has said, and what you're saying is that we must also start our retesting, given what Trump has said openly? Could this be a pass for India to do it as well, since you're talking about these global realities?
You see, I am of the view that Pakistan is just a pest. Our real threat is China. I mean, Pakistan, we shouldn't give more than 2 minutes to it in a 24-hour cycle. It's a pest. So that Pakistan is testing doesn't bother me. I'm saying that when Trump talks of testing, he is the larger fact that he's pointing to is that even the Americans are worried about the changing nuclear landscape. In that context, we must revisit our doctrine and our posture. I'm of the view it should move from transparency to ambiguity. Let the adversary wonder whether our nuclear warheads are ballistic, cruise, or hypersonics. We must invest in mega tonnages. We must invest in tactical nuclear weapons because they are a firebreak in the escalatory ladder. NFU, why say no first use? We should say that we will not be the first, but we will also not be the last. See, this is about statecraft, Sam Dam Dand Bhed. So those are the issues that I'm a votary of. And I'm saying that we must revisit the nuclear posture, look at our nuclear doctrine afresh. In fact, the appointment of the Chief of Defence Staff is very significant because the Chief of Defence Staff and the CNC SFC, of course, under complete political control, are major actors in this whole business of nuclear deterrence. You must seek an interview with the Chief of Defence Staff, get his views, because it's a very critical actor. Okay. I'm saying that deepen these conversations, revisit these debates. Trump has pointed out to us, he makes these statements in a very, what shall I say, non-formal manner, so they seem very petulant, but actually it's not petulant. The whole MAGA camp, America is not focusing on tariffs. Tariffs is the distraction. Their national security posture is undergoing a complete revamp. Their investments, for example, in long-range precision have increased by 175%. They are revisiting their nuclear posture. And I'm saying that as India is now getting into the big league, we are the fourth largest economy, third largest economy. Every quiver in our statecraft needs to be sharp. So the conventional, space, cyber, and also this nuclear business.
Okay. So time to revisit the no first use policy and other things as well. Lieutenant General Shukla, thanks a lot for joining us. I do look forward to discussing these issues more with you. But time for us to take your leave. Thanks a lot for watching Plain Speak. The Right Stand is coming up with Anand Nasir.
Co-powered by. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The Indian Heaven Premier League T20 cricket tournament taking place in Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir, involving local, national and international players, has encountered significant challenges. Some players are stranded at a local hotel, and reports suggest that organisers have fled the valley. The event, organised by a private company and sponsors is facing difficulties after several players allegedly boycotted the matches due to unpaid dues, leading to a disruption.
Unfortunately, bills haven't been paid, staff haven't been paid, hotels haven't been paid. The hotel was instructed this morning to lock all doors and leave all players and all staff within the building on instruction from the league. Unfortunately, they have had to carry that out. We are still waiting for the balance to be paid. It's made the rest of the payment. We have come to an agreement with the owners at this moment in time to allow the players home to their families, as obviously they're not getting any money whilst they're here. They haven't been paid themselves, and it's not fair on the players being away from their homes and their families for this long.
That's quite a charge that's coming from one of the English umpires there, going on record talking about unpaid dues. She's also, in fact, claiming that all of the players have been put on these hotel arrests in Srinagar. The sponsors, the organizers have fled and they have not paid the dues, and that's why the players have refused to be participating in that entire Indian Heaven Premier League tournament. And remember, this is not just about local players. There are international players who have come, national level players who are associated with this particular tournament, but certainly ended up giving a bad name to this entire Premier League that was announced initially, and now is facing too many hurdles, and allegations have been really bad as far as this entire tournament is concerned. If players are coming on record, they're talking about how they have been placed under arrest. They're not even being allowed to go out of Srinagar to go back to their families. My colleague Ishan Vani is now joining us on the broadcast. Ishan, that's a huge claim that has been made by the players. They've gone on record. They're talking about how they are on hotel arrest. Dues have not been paid, not just of the hotels, but also to the players.
Well, absolutely right. The problem stemmed when the league did not see so much of participation of local coming to watch. If you recall, there was a league last year which had a massive crowd. Even tickets and the stadium were sold out, and there was no one, no ticket available for them. So they were banking on the sort of audience that was drawn last year because of the international participation of players like Chris Gayle, Sri Lankan players, and also players from Bangladesh were seen that, those players were participating in that event. And now what we have seen, what has happened is that, this year, when the league was going on, it did not draw a massive crowd, and players were left in their hotels, and the hotel was not ready to ask them to leave, and they were stranded in the hotel. Even one of the umpires from we are told of British origin, had to contact embassy to rescue herself from the hotel. And there were other players also who were part of that league who could not actually leave. But local players were also staying in the hotel. And this league, what we have been given to understand, that has become failure. And those who were organizing it were from outside Jammu and Kashmir, who then left J&K and have never returned. And they have to pay the players. And that's why you saw a certain, for